So let me say hello to everybody. This is Jim McDonald with Torrey Hills Capital, and I would like to welcome you to the Sable Resource webcast. Sable Resources is a well-funded junior grassroots explorer focused on the discovery of Tier 1 new precious metals and copper projects. Company's projects are located in favorable established mining jurisdictions in Argentina and Mexico. Sable trades in the U.S. on the OTC market under the ticker symbol SBLRF, as well as up in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange under the ticker symbol SAE. And joining me today from the company to discuss its operations and growth strategy, I have Ruben Padilla, the company's president and CEO. Before I turn the call over to Ruben, just want to go through logistics fairly quickly. For those who have been on a call with me in the past, nothing new, but just a reminder for those who may not have been on in a while, our webcasts are intended to replicate and mimic our in-person meetings, which we like and encourage to be as interactive as possible. With that in mind, if you have questions along the way, please feel free to ask them. The best way, of course, to ask those questions is use the navigation pane at the bottom of the screen, click on the Q&A or the chat button. One of us will see that, get the questions presented and answered for you. If for some reason we do not get to your question immediately, it's not that we're ignoring it or do not see it. It's simply that I know that that question is going to be answered in an upcoming slide, so it doesn't make sense to interrupt the normal progression of the presentation. We will get to it in the normal course of business. Alternatively, if you do want to speak directly to Ruben at any point in time, you're welcome to do so. The only way to do that is, again, use the navigation pane, click on the raise hand button. We will see that and be able to unmute your microphone and allow for direct conversation back and forth. With that said, I will remove myself from both the audio and video, but remain on the call throughout, monitoring questions as they come in. But enjoy the presentation for Sable Resources. And Ruben, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, Jim, I will share my screen.
Perfect.
Share here. I'm going to get the presentation. You cannot start screen share while the other person is sharing. Let me see. Can you see my screen now?
I do see something. I see the lake. There's a presentation now.
Okay, so we're in business.
Yep.
Anyway, good morning. In my case, from Tucson, Arizona. Thank you for joining this presentation today. So let me tell you the story of Sable. Sable is a greenfield exploration company, and our objective as a greenfield explorer is to discover ore deposits that will deliver, that will have that size and quality that can deliver significant shareholder return. That's our main objective. How do we do these things? We basically, the way that we do it is by having a clear focus on only big mineral systems. Those mineral systems that we explore are porphyry type of mineral system. The porphyries, I will talk more about them during the presentation. But porphyry deposits are the largest type of deposit that are located within the geology of the Cordillera of the Andes in South America. Those deposits are the type of deposit that companies like a BHP, like a Tecominco, all those major companies will be willing to buy and acquire as soon as discovery happens. So our business is to discover deposits and as soon as possible find a company that have interest to buy them, and this is the way the money can be returned to shareholders. So our objective is not to develop mines. We are a good exploration group that have a good experience and a good history of discoveries. So that's our plan: discover and then find a deposit that major company will be willing to buy. So we focus on the right deposits. We are in the right jurisdiction. We are working in the Andes where those deposits occur. So hunting for elephant in an elephant country. We do a systematic exploration. I'm going to talk about that today, how we maximize the chances of success. And we are well funded. We have the money to do the job. So let me now tell you the story how we do the job to maximize the chances of success in mineral exploration. So just to start a little bit talking about the group, we have a board of directors with a lot of experience in acquisition and mergers and legal. So excellent experience board of directors. In our team, it's a small team. And I will talk about me a little bit because I run the show here. I am a geologist with an engineer career in Chihuahua, Mexico, and then I did my master and my PhD in Arizona, with focus on the Escondida deposit. That is the largest copper mine of the world at this moment in Chile. I participated in one of the discoveries in that mineral district that is called Escondida East. It's over 1 billion ton deposit. And then later I worked with AngloGold. I worked with BHP for 13 years and then for AngloGold for almost 10 years. With AngloGold, I work in Peru, in Brazil, in Colombia, and we have a lot of success. We found very close to 40 million ounces of gold associated with porphyry systems, mainly to porphyry systems. And all these discoveries I participate in my life has been because we do a systematic approach. And then what I'm doing with Sable is to replicate what we did with BHP, what we did with AngloGold, and we prove that is the way to have success. Hence the discipline, and the knowledge to do the job. A little bit about the capital structure of the company. We have shares outstanding, 286 million shares, a little bit more than that. The share price has really been hit hard in the last few weeks. I think yesterday we were like 6 cents Americans, like 9 cents Canadians. The company value is around $20 million US. And very interesting because you will see the projects that we have and the cash that we have. It nothing to do with the value of the market give to the company. We have in this moment a little bit over $70 million Canadians in the bank, and we have access to another almost $5 million from a JV that we have with a major company. So we have access to more than $22 million. Basically, it's the company, the value, the market capitalization of the company in this moment. And we also have access, you mentioned this very quickly, we have some royalties that we own. We have in British Columbia in different companies in exploration projects and in good deposits. And those royalties, we will sell them eventually to bring more capital and continue doing founding the exploration that we are doing. For a little company like us, it's very important to see the institutional shareholders that believe in the work that we do. Osisco royalties with 9.9%, Merck Financial, Franklin Templeton, and Sprout Investment. So there are companies, big companies that believe the work that we do. They are well invested in Sable. So now I'll start with how do we do this job?
Hey, Ruben, can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yeah.
There was a question that came in, and I'm not sure if you can see the questions as they come in.
No, I can't.
Okay, so apologies for the interruption, but there was a question. How did Osisco acquire its position and when?
Osisco is important, very good question. Osisco acquired this position in 2020. And so when we were starting, we did a lot of work, like a 4 years work with a small investment. And then when we were ready to go and start investing more money, and we have a good portfolio of projects, and we needed more money, Osisco bought 2% royalty for any future discovery that we had in the future on that portfolio that we had in 2020. So they gave us $10.5 million Canadian. You know, this is a really trusting in the work that we can do. They bought for a future discovery, 2% NSR, and at the same time they bought 9.9% of the company.
Okay, thank you for that. Hopefully that answers the question for the person who asked, and I'll let you continue.
So this is the way that we do the work. I want to explain this triangle. This is triangle that you can see not just in mineral exploration, but also in any research and development company. The idea is that we start in the bottom of the triangle, and every white line that you see here is passing from one stage to another stage. Anytime you see this white line. In the bottom of the triangle is when we have a lot of ideas, hypotheses of working. And when we pass to the next one is when one hypothesis is showing that has characteristics to deliver what we want to find, that is a big ore deposit. Normally it's a piece of ground that has alteration, mineralization, we call a mineralized anomaly. And that can be something between 3 kilometers by 2 kilometers normally. And that area, we give it a name, we call it a target in this moment. That we do a lot of work there. We do geophysics, geochemistry, all the science and the practical work that we have to do. And we ask the question, do we have here something that is worth it to drill, to put a drill hole and test a 3D, the 3D shape of this area? And only will test it if it has the chance to be big. If there is no chance to be big, we probably drop it or we divest it. We sell it to somebody else and bring more money to the company. Some of these projects jump to first phase drilling. First phase drilling, we test the concept. And if after drilling, we decide that some of those projects are looking good, good chances, we go to a second phase of drilling. And eventually, we will have a discovery. So what you see here, these names, we have a lot, we have like 1 million hectares of land in Mexico. We have 164,000 hectares of land in Argentina. We have a lot of playground in the right places. We have been doing 4 or 5 years work to generate those targets. Last year, we started drilling for the first time. So we worked very hard for 4 years to generate these things. And then we boom, last year we came and we drilled 7 targets, first phase drilling, 7 targets. 3 of them, we are not going to drill this year because we are going to focus on the 4-1 from the 7 that we drilled that look better chances of success. So we are drilling 4 targets this year. Last year we drilled 7. We drilled almost 19,000 meters of drilling. And this year we are drilling 4 with at least 10,000 meters of drilling. And what you see here was the name of Margarita. 2 years ago, we had a discovery, but after doing the first drilling, we saw that it was not going to be big enough to deliver the valuation that we want in this company. So instead of spending more money, we only spent $1.2 million to answer the question. It's a discovery, but it's not big enough. So we sold the project to Magna Gold for $7.5 million. So that you see how we got this money. Basically, we got the money from Cisco for 2% NSR, and we sold Margarita for $7.5 million. And this process is a very systematic approach that moves us from the bottom of the triangle to hopefully a discovery. And if we are always focused on only high quality targets, every time that we move up in this pyramid, we only move with good quality targets. And also we have multiple projects because something is going to happen in this business. We're going to fail and fail and fail and fail. But we need to have the money to keep going. We need to have, we need to understand that when we are not in the right place and then move away and keep working in the one that are going to deliver. This is the way that it's important that I take my time to describe this triangle because this is the basis of everything. So now I'm going to show you what projects that we have then, this portfolio of projects. Not all of them because we don't have the time to do it, but the most important in this moment. I'm going to talk only in this moment about the projects in Argentina. In Mexico, we are more in the target generation process. In Argentina, we are very busy drilling. You can see this map here. In this map, you can see this blue point and the red one. Those are big deposits. We are talking about 20 million ounces deposit. We are talking about copper deposit. They have over 10 million tons of copper. Means valuation that are over $500 million to more than $2 billion valuation. And that's the reason that we are here, because we want to find a deposit that's equivalent to one of those big ones. This is the right place to be. And we are lucky that we were early in this part of Argentina. That is a great place to work, San Juan, which was ranked by the Fraser Institute last year as the best jurisdiction for mineral investment in Latin America, over Mexico, over Peru, over Chile. So we have 3 big land packages. El Fierro here is only 120 kilometers south from the big deposits of Lundin. Lundin has the 2 deposits here are Jose Maria and Filo del Sol. Jose Maria is a company listed with around $700 million valuation. And Filo del Sol, they have a discovery there, and the company valuation is over $2 billion. So that's the kind of thing that we want to discover. That's the kind of valuation that we want to have. So we have El Fierro, similar geology. I'll show you this later. We have La Poncha, another 34,000 hectares. And then 100 kilometers to the south, we have Don Julio, almost 70,000 hectares. And we have a JV there with South 32, that is the largest, one of the largest base metal companies of the world, with a valuation of over $10 billion, one of the largest ones. Very happy to have this JV with them. So they pay for every work, all the work that we do in Don Julio, and we pay for all the work that we do in Fierro and Poncha. In the case of the South 32, they pay, but we do all the work, and they pay us 8% management fee for all the work that we do there. So what I'm going to do now is to give you a quick description of Don Julio, the area that we have in JV with South 32. I'm going to jump to El Fierro, that is the project that we are managed 100%, and then we can conclude here. Let's start then from Don Julio here. This area you see in this map is basically 4 years of work in this area of 10 by 12 kilometers. Is the first place that we work in Argentina. It's an amazing area with a lot of geological features that have the characteristics to have big deposits. You can see the photo there. That's our 7 kilometers elevation change from 3,000 to 5,500. 4 years of work with geophysics, geochemistry, walking, doing mapping of geology. We define Tocota, Poposa, Gringa, Colorado, Fermín. All of these are porphyry style mineralization. And so normally the good thing with porphyries, when you find one, normally it's a cluster. You want to find a group of porphyries because they can create a district size. And last year we came and we drilled Gringa here, we drilled Poposa, we drilled Punta Cana. So now we are coming back and we will start re-drilling the second round of drilling in the first week of November. So we're going to be running, the rig is going to be working the first week of November. We're going to start the second phase of drilling in the Gringa, and then we're going to move to Punta Cana. So that's what we're going to do this. And then we're going to prepare for the following season, Tocota and Fermín, to start the first round of drilling. This package by itself, for many junior companies, will be more than enough. But you know, that's the beauty of this company, that we have multiple targets. So let me show you a little bit about the Gringa and Punta Cana. In the Gringa, this is a view of a small view of the area only with the Gringa and Poposa. This is a big alteration zone, 6 kilometers long. And we work here and we put some holes in the top of this hill. And we found that was not going anywhere. It was basically going to barren rock underneath. But by the end of the year, at the season last year, we put these 2 holes, 7 and 9. And we proved the connection between all these alterations that we see on the surface with copper and gold anomalies with a porphyry style mineralization. We got intersections that you can see here of 62 meters of 0.33% copper, 17 of 0.38% copper. You know, really interesting intercepts for the first time that this porphyry style mineralization was discovered in this property. I think it's very interesting, but we didn't hit the porphyry that produced this alteration. But we know when we hit this type of alteration as a geologist, it's called potassic, with this copper and gold and moly, that we are not far away from the center. And the center that we call the causative intrusive rock that produce all this alteration is the one that has the best chance to have economic grades. As you can see here, we have 0.2, 0.3% copper. And this part of the world, we need to be looking for economic grade around 0.5%. So we are not there yet with these holes, but we are not in the center of the system. And I think we have a good chance in the next drill season. You can see in this map here, it's the same figure that I showed you. Those are the 2 holes that we drilled. And the best anomaly that we have with geophysics and geochemistry is right here in this area. So it's like a 600 meters away, is in the right place where it should be. And now the first drilling that we're going to do the first week of November will be exactly over this. This is an electrical anomaly. This electric is called IP, or chargeability. Basically, what they show, there is sulfides there, and we are looking for sulfide because copper comes in the form of sulfides. As you can see in these things, they're cobellite, chalcopyrite, molybdenite. And so I think in the case of La Gringa, we worked for so many years in this thing, and now we know where the center is, and we're going to be drilling right here in the middle of this thing. So that's the first drilling that we're going to do. The second place is, I mentioned, is Punta Cana. It's located like 3 kilometers to the south of La Gringa, in the same area of Don Julio. The porphyry is outcropping, suboutcropping in this area at 4,500 meters elevation. The different elevation between this point and this point in the valley is 1,000 meters. And last year we put the road there, and because we knew the porphyry outcrop there, and there is a big magnetic anomaly. It's a magnetic high, we call it high values of magnetism there, and geochemistry, and also chargeability. We were, at the end of the day, we were not able to finish the road to the top of the anomaly, but we were able to be on the margin, like you can see there, and we drilled this hole there, hole number 8. And the hole came with the right geology you see on the right here. That's the type of geology that is a porphyry style mineralization. You can see this is a photo from the microscope with boronite that is a very high copper content sulfide gold. You can see the grain of gold right there. And 400 meters, so almost 0.3 grams per ton gold equivalent. But we didn't drill in the center of the anomaly because we couldn't access the center of the anomaly before the winter started there. So what we're doing right now, that we're moving the road right now to the top of the anomaly, and we are going to drill, when we finish the Gringa, we're going to move the rig and drill here. So 2 great targets in Julio, and we're going at the same time prepare 2 more for the following season. All of these paid by South 32. So this is Don Julio. Great chances of success, I think, for this year. This is now El Fierro, the property that I told you that we finance 100% with Sable's money. It's only 120 kilometers south of the Lundin property that I mentioned. Filo del Sol, that is over $2 billion company. Same type of rocks, 20 million years old rocks. It's very important, the age in this system, because the age has something to do about how fertile the rocks are in this part of the world. The intrusive rock, magma that came to the surface, and they bring the mineralization. When you see this photo, it's almost 15 kilometer diameter. The red zone is a magnetic high. And that magnetic high represent igneous rock that were in place in the cross. And those rocks are the ones that bring the mineralization. This place was never worked before by anybody. We control a big piece of land here. We understand the geology after we have been working here for a little bit more than 1.5 years. So a very short period of time, but very, very good job we have been doing here with defining a big system with veins on the side, with silver, with gold, and with lead and zinc on the margin, and a porphyry centers in the middle. Last drill season, we discovered the porphyry centers of Piro and Antennas, and we did some drilling in there, and I will show you a little bit of the results of that. First, I'm going to start with Piros. So this is a view of the porphyry outcropping. That is like a 3.5 kilometer by 2 kilometers. Those dots that you see there in lines are soil samples that we take every 100 meters, the lines, every 25 meters, the samples. This is more than 2,600 samples that we took there. Unfortunately, the labs are very slow. We just got these results like 1.5 months ago before we did the drilling. So, but the geologist was the right geologist, so we decided to put some holes to explore this area and the white polygon that you see there. And we had that represents only 20% of the whole anomaly of Piros. And we have a very interesting result for the first year that we drilled there. I will show you some of the results, and that's a small area there. We got results again, 0.34% copper equivalent, 0.22 over 119 meters, 30 meters of 0.4, 142 of 0.2 0.2, 1.3% copper. So this type of values, again, we need to look for the 0.5% copper to make these things economic. But for the first round of drilling that we did, and it's only 20% of the whole anomaly, I think we have a good chance now that somewhere in this big anomaly, we can find the grade that we are looking for. We control 100% of this property. It's a very early stage. Now we're doing with this property, we put all the data together. We have the geologists back in the field. We are studying the property again to decide where to put the next round of drilling. And we're going to bring the rig in this property in the beginning of January. So we're going to be drilling in the second round of drilling in El Fierro in January. And at the same time, we are exploring the rest of the property because I'm sure we're going to find more mineral systems, as we did with this place called Antenna. It's located only 3 kilometers to the north of Piros. And we put one hole there. It was an early stage, but we are very aggressive with our exploration. We put one drill hole with a very, very good intercept, good beginning, 8 meters of almost 1.2 grams per ton of gold, and you can see the grades there, 1.5% copper equivalent or 2 grams gold equivalent. So for the first time that we drill this, never explore, we are definitely in the right place in Fierro. And the property is 50,000 hectares. We're going to come back, like I say, we're already back in the field and we are exploring more there. So to start now the conclusion of this, I want to just say why I do believe that Sable is a good opportunity. One of the things is because we focus on those type of deposits that can deliver the big valuation. When we're talking about the over $500 million, we have success. We need to find something that brings the valuation to the company over $500 million. And why I believe that can be done in this graph that you see on the right here, there's copper on the vertical axis and copper percentage or content of copper in the rock, and this millions of tons in the deposit. Every dot that you see there is a copper deposit somewhere in the world. And the line that you see here going like that, 10 million tons, is a combination of ton and grade that give you, in any point passing this line, there's more than 10 million tons of copper. And the red one is over 25 million tons of copper. Those type of deposits are the one that we need to find. The world is consuming 25 million tons of copper per year. So it's basically, those are called the giant deposits, over 25 million. We are consuming one giant deposit per year as a human being, and it's going higher, the consumption every day with electrical changes in the world. And so, these deposits also are very good because they not only have copper, they have gold, they have molybdenum, and they have silver. The stars that you see there are copper deposits with gold and moly that are in our neighborhoods. All of these things that you see here are deposits that are very close to the place where we work. So we are, like I mentioned before, in elephant country, and that's the reason I believe that we have a good chance to find one of these big ones and completely change the valuation of the company. At the same time, we not only focus on the right ones, so we have the land, we have a pipeline of different targets, so we can fail in one, but we can keep going because we have the money to do it, we have the portfolio to keep trying. And we are doing this work not only, we are drilling at least 4 targets per year, also increasing the chances not just by quality, but also by quantity. And like I say, also, we have at least in this moment access to $22 million. We are only investing per year around $7.5 million. So we have enough money to keep going at least for 3 years doing this test that we are doing. And this is what, in this graph you see here, on the vertical axis, is the cycle, is the valuation through the cycle of mineral exploration, and the X is time. What you see this graph doing like this, basically it means that at the beginning, the 4 or 5 years that we did to generate targets, to get the property, there's no more change in valuation. Now what we are drilling is when the real change can happen. We can go If we drill projects, some of them will die, we go back to nothing. But if we have enough projects, we have the chance to have success and go to the top of the valuation. And this is the place where we get out of this business, because this is the place where geologists discover the deposit and miners buy it and they put the projects in production. And so that's the only thing that I want to mention here in this graph is we are spending the plan from our season goes from September to May because of the winter season in South America. Our budget is 7.7 million to do 10,000 meters of drilling, all the geological work that we need to do. From those 7.7 million, 4.7 come from South 32. So which means that we will have at least $12 million at the end of the season. And also we have the option to sell the NSR that we own in BC to bring probably another $8 million of US and continue with this systematic exploration approach. And that's it. That's the story of Sable.
Ruben, thank you very much. Terrific presentation. Lots of value to be opened up. So let's see. We've got some questions here already. Let's go in order. What are the expectations for the targets in advanced drilling? How much money / meters do you expect to spend in the next 12 months? You may have covered that, but maybe worth recapping.
Very, very good to refresh that. Is that the money is 7.7 million and the meters are at least 10,000 meters of drilling. And the expectation for me, you know, you can see the La Gringa target. We are in the right place with the right system. And this mineral system is like a 12 kilometers by 10 kilometers. If the porphyry that generate all this alteration has some kind of correlation with the size of this alteration, then that's the reason I have a good expectation for that. The case of Punta Cana, I show you with this gold in the thin section in the microscope and the bornite is very exciting. So those two targets in Julio are definitely looking really good. And Fierro, although it's early stage, you know, it's every day, you know, when we put something that has now 10 kilometers by 10 kilometer area with all these veins and all these porphyries, we are definitely in the right place.
Well, I have a question for you, sort of as a follow-up to that. Then, you know, you talked about the sale of Margarita, right? So, how do you compare those 4 projects that are sort of in the advanced stage drilling in terms of where they are compared to Margarita? In terms, you know, so I guess I'm trying to get a sense of, you know, what the timing may be for a potential sale on those.
Yeah, you know, to get to the point that we sell something, we need to show that there is an economic deposit there, not just a dream and an exploration. Margarita, although at the end of the day ended to be a small deposit, but we proved there were there 30 million ounces of silver that was 100% sure they were there. And then that's the moment when the property has a real valuation, no hope that we're going to find something. So the next step, for example, for us, let's assume that we go and put a drill hole in La Gringa, and we come back with 300 meters of 0.5% or over 0.5% copper. We know that we're going to be in a mineralized system. So next, after that, we need to probably put another 15 or 20 holes. And at that moment, we can show the size of the system and the grade. And in that moment, we can put when we see the size of the quality of the project, then we can put the numbers. Okay, now if we have a billion ton potential with 0.6%, we can compare with other deposits and say, okay, this is similar to this deposit of $1 billion. And this is the moment that we can start putting the real valuation to the project.
So as part of that, do you ever need to do a formal third-party resource estimate, or is that something that someone's going to look at you and do on their own internally?
That is, as explorers, we don't want to do resources. We want to find something that is obvious, that is big enough. And we have many histories of discoveries. There was a great explorer in Arizona. There was a Lowell. He discovered big deposits that were bought out by companies way before he had to put a resource. Because when the deposit is very good, big companies want to take them away from you. They when the deposit is not too good, you need to go and do more and more work. But when they are good, they sell themselves.
Okay, no, fair enough. Thank you for that. Let me get back to the questions that have come in. How did you acquire the projects in Argentina?
By two ways. The first one that is on Julio. The property has been owned by a family from San Juan, Argentina, since the late 70s. It's a family of miners, and they did a little bit of work there. And they are a good friend of mine. I met them. We worked together in Colombia. And when we started with Sable, I went back there and I talked to them and I checked the property. They always told me about this property. And I went to visit the property. Really, I found out it was an excellent place to explore. And we did a deal to acquire the property. And so South 32, in part of the investment that South 32 has to do to acquire, to do a JV with us, is they need to spend $14 million US to get to 65%. And also pay the $4 million to acquire the whole property. And then when we have been working there, then we stake a lot of ground. When at the beginning we started with a property, and then we stake a lot of open ground in the last 4 years in San Juan.
Okay, thank you for that. Hopefully that answers the question for that asker. Coming from Mitch, in terms of valuation, how much do you think can be attributed to each of the projects in Argentina? For example, is someone buying your stock for one particular project or for the basket of them really as a whole?
I think it's for the basket because we don't know where the success is going to happen. All the projects that we are drilling and go to second round of drilling is because they have the characteristic and the quality to produce a discovery. And the good thing is, and my hope is that we are not a company that just discovered one deposit. That will be good is that we, as a shareholders, I am a big shareholder of the company, is that we find a deposit, we can spin out that deposit into a company that will be acquired by a big company. We get paid out with that. And then we continue our exploration process, looking for more deposits within the core of Sable.
Terrific. From Paul, you have a lot of experience in the mining space and have done asset sales. What is the key characteristic that provides for a great sales price? Number one, and then part two is, and how is the mining space for acquisition now versus a few years ago?
The first thing, in quality, we need to find deposits that are huge in size. We need to talk about deposits that have over 1 billion tons, in these cases, billion tons of rock, over 0.5% copper plus the gold and moly equivalent. And why is that? Because big companies are the big buyers, and only few buyers out there, probably 10, and they don't wanna entertain a small deposit. If they wanna build a new mine, is something that has a mine life over 40 years, something that Escondida, El Teniente, the big deposits. So that's what we need. I work for big companies, and I know exactly what we were looking for. So that's I'm trying to find that. And the second part of the question is that the reason that I do this is because we used to have a lot of success with big companies and other people with big companies working with them. But a few years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, big companies don't stop doing greenfield exploration, these things that we are doing with Sable, because for different reasons. And so what we're doing is I'm just taking the thing the process that was very successful working with major companies. So we're doing the style of exploration that major companies used to do and were successful. And we're trying to find a deposit that will, all these companies, the question was, they are hungry for big deposits, for real deposits. So it's not difficult to sell a deposit that it will fit into the growth structure of a big company.
Appreciate that, Paul. I think that answers your question. If not, please type back in. From Mitch, Do these projects have drilling on them prior to your involvement, or were they first drilled by Sable?
One small area in Don Julio, it was drilled. You know, the area I showed you is 12 by 12 kilometers. There was a small hill they call the yellow, the Amarillo hill. And that has drill holes, very shallow holes, like 100-meter deep holes in the top of the hill, because there are very good copper and gold values in there. But they were never able to put together a continuous ore body. There were values up to 2,000 grams of gold there, and that's the reason people drill there. But they never understood that that little hill there was related to a big porphyry system. So we used the information on the previous drilling to vector into the center of the system. And the other properties, they didn't have any drilling. So like I mentioned, El Fierro, nobody did any work before us in that property.
Okay, thank you. And you had mentioned some of the other companies in the area that were of, substantial size. How do you compare your drill results to those companies in the area?
I think the first one that we can mention is the success of Filo del Sol, the Lundin company there. They were there for almost 20 years working in that area. A size of anomaly very similar to Piro's. The target I show you in El Fierro property, like a 3.5 kilometer by 2 kilometers. They were there working for 18 years. They were drilling, finding the type of result that I inherit here, like a 0.2% copper, 0.25, 0.1, and 200 meters. But they never gave up. Companies like Lundin Group, they have the money to be persistent and do a good scientific and practical work. Finally, 3 years ago, they found an area with a high grade, and that's when the company went flying to $2.6 billion. So we are similar to Lundin in terms of geology, or Jose Maria is another deposit that they own there. Is over 1 billion ton deposits, similar characteristic of El Fierro and Poncha, similar age, 18 million to 25 million years old rocks in the Andes. Now, in the case of that's them. And then we have Veladero, owned by Barrick. They have been producing very close to 500,000 ounces of gold per year for almost 15 years. It's a big deposit, one of the good deposits of Barrick there. We have Alturas, also owned by Barrick. Right there, it's like over 10 million ounces of gold. We have to the south, we have McEwen with Los Azules. Is close to 9 million tons of copper in the porphyry system. To the south, we have more Pelambres, one of the world-class copper deposits of the world with over 44 million tons of copper. We have Pachón, owned by Glencore. So it's like I mentioned in that graph with all those stars that I show you different colors. Those are the type of deposits that are in the neighborhood. And we have the characteristics in our geological environment that we can find one of those.
Yep, you're certainly in the right neighborhood based on all of that. So that's great. How do you sell a property? Do you market it for sale, or do companies come to you based on drill results?
Yeah, the reality is that if there is a good discovery, and I have a drill hole like Filo del Sol, where Lundin has 1,000 meters of 1.5% copper. That is, I will have the companies calling me right away.
Fair enough.
And in my work, I've been 35 years in this business and work with mayors, and I basically know most of the exploration managers of the mayors. And I'm sure that we have a conversation right away.
Yep. Next question. You mentioned Mexico in the beginning. We've talked mostly about Argentina. What are you doing in Mexico, or what plans do you have in Mexico?
Look, in Mexico, it's very interesting. We have in Mexico 1 million hectares. It's a big land package. That package we started staking around 2015. From that land, we have over 30,000 hectares in mineral titles, and the rest of the property is in mineral application. Mexico has been really slow lately to give you mineral title. When you apply for the land, you have the only person that has the right to have the title. You can do all the exploration you want in the land, but you cannot drill. So I haven't spent much money in Mexico lately because I want to wait for them to give me the titles. I don't want to be spending money if they are going to slow down the production of titles. However, we have 30,000 hectares. And I tell you now, we have 2 targets that are ready to drill now. We have been doing work. We spend like $250,000 per year. And we have been doing stream sediments, satellite images. And then slowly in the back, you remember the triangle dimension, we are right at the bottom. And we are producing targets. We have 2 targets ready to drill in the middle titles. And very likely I'm going to drill one of those next year.
Okay, good. So you will have some news coming out of Mexico likely next year.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
I want to just mention this, Jim. We have so many targets, in Argentina, still have more. It's just impossible for it in the time that we have to talk about all the projects that we have in the bottom of the triangle.
Yep. And then we have one final question before I get to it. Just a reminder, if people have additional questions, use the navigation pane at the bottom of the screen, click on the Q&A or the chat button. So from Rob, Ruben, if you could give a little bit more of your background, which mining companies you worked for and which positions you held over the last 10, 20 years.
Well, like I said, I did study geological engineering in Chihuahua, in the School of Engineering in Chihuahua, Mexico. That was in 1982, I finished. And I work in Santa Eulalia, Mexico, the largest lead zinc in silver deposits called limestone replacement in Mexico. I was a mine manager, chief geologist in the mine. Then I worked for Fresnillo, the largest silver company in the world in Mexico, for 3 years. And after that, I went to work for BHP, a little 2 years in Mexico, and then another 11 years around the world. I worked for a very famous geologist with Hugo Dammit. I was his personal assistant for 2 years. And I have the opportunity to travel around the world and visit most of the big deposits. After that, I went with BHP to work in South America, in Chile, especially in Escondida, the largest copper mine in the world. I did my master and my PhD there. I came to Arizona to do the school for 3 years, and master and PhD. After that, I went to live in Peru. I worked in Tintaya and Antamina in big exploration programs. Then we discovered Escondida East, like I mentioned, more than 1 billion ton deposit. I was a geologist that recommended the drill hole that discovered Escondida East. Then I went for Anglo Gold. When Anglo Gold, we discovered a gold deposit of 2 million ounces in Peru that we sold to a guy, a Peruvian called Guido del Castillo. And then I went to Colombia with Anglo Gold, and we found Colosa, that is one of the biggest discoveries that being in gold. It's called Colosa, is 30 million ounces of gold in the porphyry system. We found Quebradona is another big deposit, and another deposit that B2Gold is working right now, is developing, is 5 million ounces. Then I went to work for Cisco in Canada, and I did all the work in Windfall, all the geological model. I work in Barkerville. All deposits, those deposits have over 5 million ounces each of them. And you know, the story is very long because I think I'm getting older now, 35 years doing this work.
No, appreciate the background on that. Rob, I'm sure appreciates that too, as do the rest of our attendees. Ruben, I don't see any additional questions right now, so we may have some additional questions come in, which I see something just popped up. Rob says, thanks. You are welcome. So let me just say, Ruben, thank you to you for a terrific presentation. Lots of great information, lots of upside, particularly as you put the drills into the ground in the upcoming season. To the attendees, I want to say thank you to you for all the great questions. Let me hand out today's keyword. I always like to try to find something that's sort of topical, and with Halloween coming up, today happens to be National Black Cat Day. So we're going to go with black cat as our keyword. And before we part ways, Ruben, I'd like to always pass it back to our presenter and ask you to provide us with what I call sort of elevator pitch final thoughts.
I'll tell you something. We are not raising money. and we won't be raising money hopefully in the next 3 years. The reason I like to present Sable to more and more individuals because I think it's a very good story. It's a high risk. We may fail in everything that we do because in this business, if we don't find a big deposit, doesn't matter how much we work, it's a fail. But I think we have a good chance of success because we focus in the right big deposit systems, because we have the money to do the work and we're in the right place. And we have a lot of passion to do this job. So I just invite you, everybody here, if they want to participate and be shareholder like me in this company, I will love to have you as a shareholder and in this company.
Terrific. Ruben, I thank you. And for everybody on the call today, if you do have questions post today's call, feel free to reach out to me or Ruben directly. We'll get your questions answered. And we'll, of course, keep you posted on the company's progress going forward. And with that, one day early, I wish everyone a terrific weekend. Thanks,
Happy
Ruben.
weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Talk to you
Bye-bye.
soon.